Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here. My name is Eva. Just taking some nice deep breaths to bring ourselves into the present, to feel our life force within us, to feel unity, to feel life, to experience yourself as life here through your breath, through your presence. The intention of today's work is to really just support us in these really deep pattern recognition and emotional state healings, and really tracing through how these processes and the felt expression of them, so like the emotional state, as this kind of identity that's really deeply shifting as we're doing this embodiment work. So we sort of have visions, and then we intend to live those visions here. And the way that we do that is to move through these processes. But that process can be very difficult and really painful and really overwhelming. And it is that way in the felt experience, but it also is that way in the physical experience a lot of times by the way of how the story you're living in is orchestrated to bring that into your consciousness. And that's like interactions with other people, lots of relational trauma coming up, lots of grief around relational, and relational to self and identity, and a negation of self and a grief around that, right? As we move into a more enlightened embodiment, we're in this kind of middle space of this integration. And I really wanted to just bring a little bit more light and peace and joy into the expression of this healing, because a lot of it can feel really heavy, but we're never meant to stay there. We are meant to be living. And so we don't want to get too focused on, what we would call the healing work of it all, because that very easily can kind of bog us down when we don't let it move. So we want to remember what we do this for, which is to know ourselves as love, as peace, as happiness itself, and that is our function. That is what we're here to bring through. That's the embodiment that we are intending towards, right? To bring the vision through us, to allow Spirit's will, the way it is written in our coding, to actually come into form. And so it is always the focus on that life. But because we're not bypassing into like total abstraction, remembering that it is to bring it through the form, we transform through the experience of the form, and that can still feel. We still feel. We're here, we're feelers, that's what we're doing. So I really just wanted to take us into a space where we can allow that grief to be seen in love, and to make it easier in the lived experience. This work does function to make it easier to live, to remember more of ourselves in the response to things so we're not reacting automatically, to bring more of the soul into our awareness in this time that we spend together, to then allow that when you remind yourself, then you notice how it continues to work through your life and transform you, because you're accepting it, because you're attending to it. It's already happening. We just bring it down through the formal layers. But what that is, what we're attending to, is love. And so we never want to lose the delight of it. And it's easy to do that. So just taking nice deep breaths. Relaxing, opening, letting those breaths release tension. And there is an acceptance, an assistance with a kind of acceptance by the way of a further clarity of sight to where we physically find ourselves, knowing that we're never in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is written, everything is written for our remembering. We always have the eyes to see that. It is about that attending. Moa sunyon tukana yan toru kui shinimo ana yan saoshi kaya suyani himyandia sinsoro ishia yasanyanto hinyanda woshi kaya snusum sayayan noru itision yandaya kinyanda sunya pa washi tawuno monsontro atinya hinyanda washina tarakuno yan satraiti. This transmission feels a lot like a bridge kind of between the unacknowledged grief and the clearing of that, and this kind of in-between space where we're sort of continuing to allow it to be processed and let go while it is revealing the identity architecture that it was built with, but also like hiding, and really being able to see the architecture in the vibration of it, in the sort of physics of it, and kind of pass that through into a higher, I don't love that word, a more expanded, more unified, more remembering form. And we want to bring a lot of love into that process because it is love that heals you. And so we never want to lose sight of love, because love is the eyes with which we see. Those with eyes to see are seeing from the eyes of love. And so we need to remind ourselves of that and to really let ourselves feel that. You can accept a difficult experience in love. That's how you accept it back into an acceptance of, a sort of consuming of, a bringing back into the wholeness. How you let love replace fear through you. Really, how you allow yourself to be a beacon without slipping into your ego, using that as like a perfection ideal in which you can't ever not feel that way, because the ego will do that. And that's a lot of the sort of what we would call architecture, is that projection defense mechanism of turning a spiritual truth into a mechanism of imprisonment. And that slides, that you can slide into that if you're not in awareness pretty easily, because of those sort of grief architectures, those fear architectures, right? That is the only thing that would be projecting that. So as we reveal in sight these mechanisms, and you can do this through, it's not just about this code. I mean, the code is always a layer of it. But what we're really doing here in this embodiment process, in this alchemy, this like lived physical alchemy, it is of belief, it is of archetype, but it is also of our lived experience and the participation with the narrative of your life, rather than rejecting it or trying to be elsewhere, or trying to be in the vision and projecting the vision into the future instead of allowing heaven to be now. Not some proverbial Garden of Eden or ancient future that you're trying to access, but that it is you now in your formless being, but you are bringing that formlessness into form. You're doing that anyway in your mind with this world, but that we would allow it to be a reflection of the truth instead of a false idea. And you have to bring that into the form you're in right now in order to embody the next phase of what you want. It's not like that life is happening elsewhere and you have to figure out how to get out of this one in order to be into that one. It's not really that. letting go of what that looks like to you, and being where you are such that you can learn your lesson perfectly right now where you are. Because it's written, when you ask to learn the lesson, which you are all doing or else you wouldn't be here, you are given the answer. Everything then it's up to you to say, everything that is in my experience right now is an opportunity to hear the answer. That's what it means to have eyes to see. That I'm learning the lesson perfectly. I know that Spirit is giving me Spirit's not punishing me with repeated negative experience. This is a perfect opportunity for me to learn my lesson perfectly in all moments. And that's revelation, because then your mind is revealed to itself, because you remembered your choice, and then that means you remembered how your mind worked. That's like the dawning. That's the second coming. It can happen in every moment. You just continuously choose it. Kina nor kuna yinima sonsuko shindaya kina mosonso shinya. Hinya korroku iso yo shumboratis nan. Kimiandis yorro kuna trato sonja. Hinyanda yuniorro isio shikiri tomorro inium norro. Hinyanda yorro hisiorro koashi tiai. Himya sansakiri atorro iniatis yorro kotia. Hinyanda yenso torro inyamayo shinindi sitsi kantato umya. Himya muashini umuasansakinando. Himya orrahuiti sio uawo shinindi sorro kotanya. Himyasi shinisinya hi. Hinyandori sit anchandrakonium on soriti da korroqua. Hinyanto sotsonata yana moritis nindi. Kina torruisaya shoto awosum santato shnatra. Kina soa shinyama sansatria yoshitaya sunya. Hina shundoto yasa washtosoa. Hima sunsoa shanyo. Humya sunjawasiso sinyan soa yoshini sanya. Himuosatsaya shito sasiaka. Hina suma onoshana suna mosotsa oshtikara. Kinindi sinso yoshomo ana ini tana kunoyanam nor kotisi tia shunyan dia. I'm feeling very compelled to say it's coming very strongly through as a presentation of this kind of Hathor energy, and that might be meaningful to someone. Niantuyo koi shinyam nyatos no konindi shi kor kuai. Hinindi so korayanu sunto kon charato. Himayani suncho awasuyo so toya shitaya sansatashana. Kinyando uma orro hitisio soto shanianto sonyo. Humua santi konoshini anti kanawo ratinyam natoshi kanain. Himyasit sitriato shtorra kiana umor konayini santati shin yatiatiki. Kansansati shonotroa rukunyam nahai siashaisia haihia inimahu ukana hima ushika usukuno ashin himindo yo so ashin himyanindo yo sonso shinyam nayan kinya hayakia kahua kuna hayakia kuaya hushu awo ku uaha hima osua ahaya ini muoa aini uno umoa ana ina oa kana hunapta sotoshi ona oyaki yoshi. Hinya sansatara itia o aini moa sonoritis inyandritis. It's very beautiful. There are many different points in time space where this is coming from to sort of simultaneously remind us of what I was saying before, which is like the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? Like it is the site that is heaven. It's not about a place that ever was or a group of people or anything like that. But because everything is in the infinite field, all of the collective unconscious and everything that there is no real form, right? So everything that was an idea, I guess, is coming forward through this to say it was all in your mind, like it's all in your mind. All of these sort of utopian manifestations of this kind of garden energy, or beings that are in what would we say more enlightened realms, that we project onto that story or those realms or those beings, especially with like light language and the vocal code and stuff. But it is the idea at the center of that manifestation coming to say, you're already there, like it was in your mind then too, and that's how you're accessing it. That's how you can remember it or think that that's something that's resonant in you. You're ringing with the same truth that's in the center, and it is that truth that's in the center that is what you're trying to bring through in your embodied, your vision embodiment. So stop trying to worry so much about how the embodiment happens and focus on that ringing, that what is ringing, the song that is like ringing through. And it will just bring peace to your like everyday experience. It should bring peace to your mind. And make it easier to see these patterns and not negate any part of it, right? We don't want to reject any part of it, but we don't want to give undue importance to it either. So taking that middle way. Amen. I think we're going to end this here, but I am feeling strings, yesterday when I was doing the healing for the sacred sexual energy healing, this divine feminine, divine union sort of polarity integration, but through that lens of like a sexual union that is like creative living energy within the self and with God and with the divine, and then also, yes, with others. That yesterday we started working, not started, but was coming through as like mother wound, like narcissistic mother stuff, and a whole lot of stuff that I've been sort of working on, and there was like a thread that was connecting into this work. So I'm going to do that now. If that's something that you're interested in, you can check out I think the names and probably the descriptions for those videos before you join to kind of hang out. Or if you search on the YouTube channel, like anything that's like divine feminine, that's just on the regular channel, you can like tune into that energy and see if that's something that you resonate with. Because I am, and I have been through my whole life. My name's Eva. Been working through that kind of lens, but now it's coming into tangible embodiment in a way that feels especially significant for the time and what we are remembering, and just like a safe place to get through all of the trauma sort of work and archetypal revelation that we do over there in that group. The trance meditation is on the site and also in the subscription. You can find that information below. And I think that's it. Thank you all very much. God bless you, and I will see you next time.